Hello. Hi, Sadaf. You're on mute.
Hello. You start that. Okay, amazing. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see if this works. Technology, fingers crossed. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, let's jump right into this. We have 90 minutes today, and I literally can speak about networking for 90 days straight. So with that, I'm going to say, what is the agenda for today? Okay, what is this mastering the art of networking about? We're going to start with an introduction. Now there's many of you, so I'm going to tell you about myself, but I want all of you to put in the chat group, just say hello, say where you're from, tell me your name, tell me a little about you. When I take breaks in the session, I'll read that. And so let's start a conversation. Okay, let's chat with and get to know one another. Basically, let's network. Then we're going to talk about what is networking. The importance of networking. Why do we really need to do it? Everyone says we need to network. Why? Let's talk about why, okay? Then let's get into mastering the art of networking theory, and then mastering the art of networking practical side of things, okay? So we're going to do a lot of talking, but then we're also going to implement and use some of those concepts we're learning. I have an activity for all of us. Hopefully we have full participation. And then we will leave time for questions if I can keep on time. Our lovely host, Emily and Deanna, will keep me on time so that we can get through as much as possible. With that, I am Sadaf Virji, and I want to tell you a bit about myself. I was born in Singapore, and I grew up in Singapore till I was about 12, and then I moved to Pakistan, which is where my family is originally from. This is where our roots are. At 13, and I did high school in Pakistan, and then I came to Canada at 18 for university. And this is me in university. It's like my first year of university. I look so geeky and so nerdy, but you know, this is who I was. And I came from a sheltered Muslim upbringing, and when I came to Canada, you know, I thought, oh, I'm coming for school, and I've been to school my entire life. This is going to be amazing. Like, I can do this. But what I didn't realize is, coming as an international student, as a newcomer, as an immigrant, it was definitely a big hurdle. You know, there were many, and in some ways I still feel that I'm adjusting to, you know, to this environment and figuring out how I be successful in a Canadian context. But I am grateful to have had many lessons learned. And when I look back at my life and I think about, you know, what was the most difficult thing I had to do, it was to integrate and immigrate into a new country on my own. And when I think about what are some of the things I wish someone had told me when I was in university, is one of the things is to network. To network. And it literally has changed my life when I figured that out. So once I graduated from university, I had this English literature degree, and I was an international student, so I had limitations on where I could work. And I happened to, you know, land in the career of philanthropy and sponsorship and fundraising. And I worked in many different organizations. I worked at the National Ballet of Canada. I worked at a hospital for a long time. I worked at an art gallery, and I also worked at the Toronto International Film Festival. And most recently, about 2 years ago, I joined the company that I'm at right now, which is 10,000 Coffees. And I'm going to give you my story on how I got my job at 10,000 Coffees. It was about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I was working at the Toronto International Film Festival, and I was scrolling through my LinkedIn profile, and one of my friends had posted a TEDx talk from someone that they knew. I listened to this TEDx talk, and I was blown away by this talk. The person was a Toronto-based professor, writer, speaker, and their story just spoke to me. I felt so much of myself in their story. They talked about imposter syndrome. They talked about being an immigrant. They talked about they also had an English degree just like I did, and had so much in common. I was so excited. I reached out to them cold. on LinkedIn, and I said, look, I just want to tell you, I listened to your TEDx talk. I think your story is amazing. Please keep doing what you're doing. And, I'm going to follow your journey. And, we added each other on all social media channels, as one does, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of the channels. And we followed each other's journey, career and whatever we posted. And I learned very quickly that he was writing a book. And the book was about burnout and how to manage burnout. And I thought, oh gosh, that's another thing I'm really going through. I don't know how to manage when I, get overworked, I get burnt out. Anyway, I bought the book the day that it released off as Amazon, and I read it, and it really spoke to me. It was so, so amazing. But they were a first-time publisher, and they self-published. And I felt that maybe they didn't have the right editor. So I had this English degree background, and I thought, what am I going to do with it? I so admire this person and their work. And so I took a red pen and I put comments throughout the book, and I sent them, I edited it without being asked to. And so I sent them the book with a box of cookies because I didn't want them to be offended by uninvitingly having edited someone's book. The audacity, can you imagine? But I just wanted to send it to them because I wanted, what if they didn't know? What if they didn't realize there were these things that, maybe could have been done differently? So I sent it to them, and they were so gracious. They wrote back and said to me, oh my God, I can't believe you took the time to do this. I'm so grateful. I've already found things I want to change. I'm going to do a second edition. A few months later, they messaged me and said, hey, I'm doing a second edition. Can I give you thanks in the book to you? And I thought, what? Oh my God, sure. But that was not why I did it. I just really just wanted you to succeed. But thank you, of course. We continued interacting once in a while. One time, this is all online, eh? And one time I'm walking down the streets of Toronto, and I see them walking in front, and we've never met in person. And I said, I jumped in front of them as they were crossing the street. And I said, do you know me? Do you remember me? And they're like, oh my God, yes, we're meeting in real life. All these small interactions over the course of about a year or two. And some months later, they sent me a LinkedIn message saying, I know somebody at this company, 10,000 Coffees. They're hiring these few positions. Tell me which position you're interested in, and I will, put in a good word for you. I picked a position. They put in a good word for me. I went through 6 interviews. So they opened the door for me, but I still had to do the work. And I'm grateful enough to say that I'm here now at 10,000 Coffees, working in an organization that promotes networking and mentoring for career development, which is something I am so, so, so passionate about. Anyway, that's my little story about work and networking. So we're going to remember this story because we're going to come back to it once in a while. And something else you want to learn about me is when I'm not working or networking or, hanging out at home with my cats. You're going to see cats run up this jungle gym at any moment now. I like to salsa dance. This is also pre-pandemic. So before the pandemic, I would salsa dance for fun. And that would be like, what I would do outside of work. So that's a little bit about me. I hope you're posting in the chat. I can't see the chat. I hope I'm learning about you. Tell me how many cats you have. Tell me how you like to dance in your living room. Tell me about you. And not just tell me, tell your colleagues and tell other people on this call today, okay? All right. We're going to move on from our introductions, and I'm going to pose a question to all of you. So what comes to your mind when you hear the word networking?
Connection, says Nathalie Jean.
Connection, correct. Yeah. What else?
It's scary. Community, coffee, communication. Get to know person, listening, how to interact, opening, opportunities, growth, making links for others and also for myself.
Amazing. You're reading from the chat, right?
Transparency, building bridges. Finding.
Okay. Now, this is what I used to think of. I used to think going to an event and handing someone a business card. In my head, it was very much like meeting people and, connecting like this, Now, we can't do that because of the pandemic. Thank you, COVID. So we are networking like this and like this and like this. if all the people who networked were so cute, it had little like beard and, you know, frizzy hair. So networking has changed. Now, there's a formal definition that you'll find in a dictionary of networking, which is the exchange of information or services among individuals, groups, or institutions, specifically the cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. Isn't that interesting? It talks about exchanging information between people, groups, companies for business or work. Isn't that interesting? Now, I don't agree. That's why I find it interesting. And I have redefined for me what networking is. And I hope to redefine networking for all of you today as well. So my definition of networking is simply the art of human connection. So here I am hugging a friend of mine at her wedding, actually. And all I'm doing is making it, we're going to talk about why is it a human connection and not talking about business and transactions, okay? Now, what does that even mean? What do you mean that we're making a human connection? It means that you're making friends, not transactions. Because people work with people at the end of the day. So when you go to an event, post-pandemic or pre-pandemic, or if you are connecting with someone online for work purposes, you're having a work meeting and you talk only about work, you will go home, and when you're spending time with your cats and your kids and your partner or on your own, are you going to remember that work conversation? No. You are going to remember the personal details, the fact that I have 2 cats and I can't stop talking about them, the fact that I like to salsa dance, the fact that I am so animated. These are personal details about me. You're connecting on a human level. You're going to forget that you're offering me this business deal and I'm going to give you these transactions, and you're going to forget those surface level details. You're going to remember what's the interesting thing, a person to person. You're also going to connecting on values, interests, ideas. That is what human connection is. That is what makes people memorable. That is what relationships are built on. Not, can this person get me a job? Maybe that's why I should go talk to them. Oh, I wonder if that person can, just what can they give me? When you're looking for, what's in it for me? It's not as impactful. And so what I want you to think about, if you want to be a pro advanced networker, is literally think about how many people can you make friends with? Who can you make friends with today? Because it's really just about making friends. You're connecting on a human level. Before we go into the importance of networking, any questions around this concept of a human connection? Does it resonate with anybody? I see nodding heads.
We have some comments.
Yeah.
People say, I like your definition. Sophie Clement, she shares her experience. She says she got a job at Desjardins thanks to networking on LinkedIn with an unknown person that opened that door for her.
Yes.
And yeah, that's all.
Okay, amazing. Yes, that's what it's about. Making those connections, having the doors open, and then, taking it all the way yourself. So similar to the story that I shared with you earlier. Okay, so let's now talk about the importance of networking. Can anyone tell me why it's really, really important? Like, why is networking or a human connection important for life or career success?
Alexandra says, it takes the stress out of networking if you go with a mindset that you are making friends, human connections. Yes. Joey says, everyone is biased towards people they already know. Maybe she can elaborate more. Need trust to do a reference. Kendra says, 80% of jobs aren't posted online and people would rather hire who they know. It's all about meaning of one's life. To understand the industry company culture from an inside perspective, because people do stuff with people they like.
Yes.
True. Finding out people's needs so you can help them and vice versa. Is the mover the connecting world? You are showing interest and you stand out from the crowd.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to break down the answer the way, now, you folks already have most of the answers that I would have thought of. So you could almost delivering this session for me, but I'm going to break down the answer into, I'm going to talk about the life part, like why is networking important or human connection important for your life? And then talk about career success. So if anyone recognizes this pyramid, it depicts Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He was a scientist and he looked at what motivated people. And if you look at this, looking from the bottom of the pyramid going up, he talks about once you have your basic needs, which are, food, water, warmth, rest, security, safety. Do I have a house to live in? Do I have water to drink, eat, etc.? What's the next thing that comes? Belonging. Now, belonging is a feeling that you can only derive in relation to someone else. Belonging comes from relationships, right? Belonging comes from having acceptance within a community. So do you ever think about why religion works as a concept? Not here to talk about religion today, but basically religion says to you, you give me faith, X, Y, and Z, and then you are one of us. You belong to us. Your friends, the friends that you look to make, you have certain things in common there, right? It's acceptance that makes you feel like you belong. All of that only comes from relationships. And so you have to build relationships, you have to make friends, you have to have a support system, because human beings have it embedded in our biology. We need other people. And so in order to be successful in life, if you were on your own, you would be depressed AF. We need connection. The opposite of depression for me is connection. And so that is why it's really important to have a support system, so that when you go out and face all of those things in life that you do, you have a support system when you come home. I think we have a question.
I'm checking the chat.
We have a hand.
Okay.
From Raul.
Raul.
Is that correct? Did I say it correctly?
Do you want to speak up, Raul?
I'm sorry, it was a mistake.
Oh.
Oh, good.
No bad networking.
The other kind of network. Okay. So this is looking at networking for your life, making friends, basically, right? And then the other one everybody touched on is essentially trust. It's important for your career because people want to hire people that they trust, that they know. And so if I am a hiring manager and I get 300 resumes, and then Diana says to me, oh my gosh, I have this really good friend who's moving to Toronto and works in tech and is interested in 10,000 coffees. Would you take a look at her resume? Like, yeah, I love Diana. I'm going to look at the person that Diana recommended. If nothing, I'm going to look at that resume because I have a relationship with Diana. I trust her. We have built trust based on a connection that we've built over time. That is what a relationship is. And it is so much easier to hire someone that I already know, right? We already have trust. This is because human beings, our brain, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but our brain is wired to tell us that we don't like things that we don't trust. We are not going to attempt things that we don't know because our brain is lazy AF. So freaking lazy. It has already a pattern and a blueprint of things that it understands and it knows. And anything that's new and that it doesn't know, it's like, oh, no, danger, don't trust, don't do this. But we'll talk, this is for another talk, okay? Getting out of your comfort zone is for another talk. But essentially, that's why it's biology. We trust people, we trust, and then you go ahead and you hire them. And yes, to the person who said 80% of jobs are typically not even posted. And that's why they say that 85% of jobs are secured through networking. 85%. That is absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? And so if you're not networking, get to human connection, folks. Okay. I'm going to move on to some theory here. Mastering the art of networking theory. First, we enter a preparation phase. What does this mean? Having a conversation with somebody can be very awkward and uncomfortable if you don't know them. I understand. Not everybody is an extrovert. Extroverts tend to have an easier time with connecting and having a casual conversation with someone. I went to a coffee shop, I made friends, But the key at the bottom of this, at the heart of this, is building confidence, right? Because if you are unsure and you walk into a meeting, or even if it's not walking physically, but digitally or virtually, and someone can sense when you're not feeling comfortable. Now, how do you get confident? What does this mean? You can't just say to me, build confidence, and then leave the session, pretend like you said something wise. No, what does that mean? So it starts by knowing yourself. Okay, so you have to identify things like, are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Because you're going to use that to your benefit. Now, how do you determine if you're an introvert or extrovert? At the end of the day, where do you draw your energy from? Is it from you, yourself, from within? Then you are an introvert. Even if you like talking to people, if your energy comes from within, you are an introvert. If you take energy from other people, like I do, as you can tell, you are an extrovert. Now, what are you going to do with that? You're going to know that if you are an introvert and you walk into a networking event post-pandemic, don't go alone. Sometimes you will feel overwhelmed, go with a buddy so that you can ease into it. Also, if you're in a big networking event and you're an introvert, don't approach the biggest group and the rowdiest group. You'll have a hard time in, getting into it. Start by the person at the buffet getting a cup of coffee. That's where you start easy and small, okay? We'll get into details a little bit more, but essentially it's very important to know who you are. What's also really important before you start networking is knowing what you want. Know your goals. That is connected to, that is building confidence, so that when you're having a conversation with someone and they ask you, okay, well, what do you want to do with your life? If you haven't prepared, you're like, I don't know. I want a job. No, not good enough. Go figure it out. There are many, many ways of how to figure out what goals you want. I unfortunately don't have another 90 minutes to talk about that today, but I know that CATS will have services and workshops on that for sure. So please connect with Emily about that. But it is really important to understand what you want from your career and your life. That's helping you build confidence. Now, what is really, really, really important when you're preparing mentally to be a pro networker is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, particularly if you've never done it before, particularly if you don't like doing it. So the thing is, you have to do it, right? We determined earlier that you have to do it because, or you really should do it, no haves, for life, because you need a support system. We can't be isolated as human beings. And for work, because literally you need to build trust, and that 80% of jobs are not even posted. So if you're not networking, you're working with a very small pile of the part of the pie. And so you have to do networking. Let's just assume all of us, we're going to do networking. So let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because you know what? It's going to be uncomfortable. But when you push past it, and when you start networking again and again and again and again and again, your brain will start to figure out a blueprint. Remember, we talked about our brain being scared and not having a blueprint? Your brain will start to be like, oh, this is familiar. We did it. It was scary last time. It's a little less scary today. and a little less scary tomorrow. And I know that people say this, and if you listen to Gary Vee, you know, that inspirational speaker, he'll say, just do it, just do it. And you're like, I don't want to do it. You really do have to, but think about really getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So sit in that discomfort and push it. And when I say push it, I mean push that discomfort through. And one of the ways that you're physically going to do this, because sometimes I do this, physically I'm like, you know, if I'm going into an interview, this one is really important, whether you're doing it digitally or in person. You want to do things like power poses to make you physically feel better. So this is a very, very popular, this is Amy Cuddy, who many of you will know as a behavioral psychologist. I believe that's her role. She is doing the Wonder Woman pose. I'm going to stand up and do this. I don't know if I can do this. So like, it's literally you're standing with your hands on your hips, and it's remarkable what this does. You know what physically it does? Look, so my hands go onto my hips. What is happening with my shoulders? They're automatically going back. Just physically, because I did this, right? When your shoulders go back, do you see where her neck is? Up. Literally, this is just, it's when your body moves and changes, it sends a message to the brain. You know that brain that needs a blueprint? It slowly starts sending a message saying, yeah, I'm getting comfortable. This is another one, you know, like the He-Man, Superman, whatever bodybuilding pose. This is another one. This is another one that I have tried that I've found to be very, very encouraging. It's literally just about changing your physical pose to help your brain and your nervous system catch up to the fact that you're getting comfortable with this uncomfortable situation. I'm going to pause for questions in the next slide, unless, Deanna, you tell me that there are a lot of questions.
We don't have questions on your presentation. Someone is asking for her TED Talk.
Yes.
Emily shared it in the chat.
Yes. Amy Cuddy's TED Talk is really quite outstanding. A lot of her work is really good, but yeah. Thank you, Emily. Okay, continue, I think. Yes, preparation phase continued. So this topic, I'm not going to talk too much about being strategic versus authentic, but it is really important to think about. So I came as an international student, and I realized that all of my friends were international students when I graduated, because I didn't really spend much time networking. I did make international student friends. They were great. But when I graduated, all of my friends had the same network I did, which was zero, in the sense outside of us. Because, you know, I came to this country with zero network, right? And so all of my other friends also had zero network. So we made our friends, but no one that I could say, hey, do you know what I should do if I want to get a job in Canada? Nobody who could help us out there. So you do, now there's a very fine line between being strategic and being authentic, okay? When I'm saying, think about pushing your boundaries and, you know, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, you will want to connect with people who are outside of your comfort zone, right? Your realm. So I was very comfortable with international students, so I stuck to them. I should have really learned to connect with other people too, just to build my network. And so if you graduate from a program in history and all of your friends are historians, you know, you might later on in life need someone who's a lawyer or, you know, a doctor or something. You expand your network so that you can understand that if you have a problem in a particular area of life, that you can go to them and ask them about it, right? You can connect people like that. But you also want to be authentic. So if you said to yourself, oh, I really want to find a lawyer friend, so I'm going to go and just talk to this person because they're a lawyer. No, you really want to have a genuine connection with them, right? If you're interested in them as a person, yes, that's you being authentic. I actually want to make friends with you. I want to learn about you. I want to see what has your journey been, right? But if you're going to do it for like, oh, I think that they can get me a job, or they can do this for me, or they can do that for me, that really won't help you. It'll be fake. They'll know, you'll know. It won't be a long-lasting relationship. There's no continuance to that networking connection. Now, based on that, we talked a little bit about, you know, talking to someone, getting to know about them. The heart of being a good networker is being curious. Because if I give you a bunch of questions to ask, which by the way I will, but if I give you a bunch of questions to ask someone that you're meeting for the first time, you'll look at it like a checklist. And you're like, if you're nervous and you're uncomfortable and you're new at this, you'll be like, oh my God, I need the checklist. But then you'll also sound super uncomfortable. But if you're genuinely like, you know what, Deanna, I'm really interested in you. What is your background? Where are you from? What are you doing? What are your passions? What are your goals? What is your life about? I will learn about her life. I will learn about her career. I'll learn about her background. These are things that are not just specific to a business transaction, right? We are making a human connection, but it only comes from a genuine curiosity. Because if she says to me, oh, I'll say to her, oh, where are you from? And she'll say, oh, where are you from, Deanna?
I was muted. I'm from Colombia.
Okay. And so can you imagine if she answered that question and I didn't have a follow-up question? And like about that, like I was like, oh, that my checklist said, where are you from? And then the next question is, what company do you work at? Like this is interesting. She comes from Colombia. Wow. When did you move to Toronto? Why did you leave Colombia? I had a roommate in university who was Colombian. You know, like this is curiosity, having a conversation, as opposed to going through a checklist. Oh yeah, she told me she was from Colombia. Okay, next. In your head, get rid of that freaking checklist. But kind of think about what might be interesting. And you know what? If Deanna is not interesting to you, which I cannot fathom to anybody, but if for any reason, don't bother, because she's going to know. She's going to know that it's ingenuine. It's like, she's just asking the questions. Forget it. Don't waste your time and don't waste theirs. Move on to someone that you're genuinely interested in. This is a really important one. Please, 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 please network, particularly when you don't need a job. A lot of young people make this mistake. As soon as they graduate from university or college, or if they are about to graduate, they start thinking about networking. And unfortunately, that is the worst time to be networking if you're looking for a job. Your network is not going to come through, like, if you haven't maintained or built a network, and you're starting from scratch, and you reach out to somebody and you say, you know, I'm this so-and-so, this is information about me, I'm looking for a job. What response do you want them to give you? Oh yeah, I have a job, but they don't know you. Why should they give you a job? Right? So you really want to think about building your network and networking prior to that. And I'm going to talk in a second about where to look for your network before you get to this stage, and how to, like, which areas of your life to network, because you don't always have to go in cold. Yes. Networking requires you to put in the time. So that example I gave you from the earlier in my story about how I got this job at 10,000 Coffees, I was genuinely interested in this person's life, and we, you know, have enjoyed a connection for a couple of years now, right? So it takes time, and you will have to put in the time and do the work. You will have to reach out. You will have to, it requires effort. Just like when you are in school and you're studying for exams and you are, you know, doing the test and whatnot, anything that you focus on in your life, I'm sure there are workshops available to talk about manifestation and energy and all of that thing. We don't have the time to talk about that today, but what I can tell you is that if you put in the investment and you put in the time into building relationships, that is what is going to come, and you're going to be able to, that's going to be able to help you later on in life. If you're going to do it for about 2 days and expect to have a job or get something out of it or feel the value, it'll be tough.
Sadaf, Veronique has a question, very interesting, by the way. She asked, do you see a difference between information interview and networking?
Ooh. if I had to find a difference and a definition, I would say that informational interviews are majority of the time during an informational interview, you will ask questions as if you are in an interview to the other person. So if I was interested in learning about something from, let's say the CEO of Bell Canada, and I was able to get an informational interview from them, they would probably expect that I would go in and ask them a ton of questions and, learn more about the industry. And oftentimes the focus will be less on personal and a bit more on career and professional experience. A networking conversation, I like to view more as a friendship conversation. So even if it is happening online, but definitely in person, you do the small talk, you talk about where you're from and you talk about personal things. It's a more of a fair exchange about communicating about different aspects of life, so work, life, etc. And also more of a balance between asking and answering. So it's not just like an interrogation, right? Like not just an interview, like a one-way thing. So that's how I would see the difference. Look, if you went in for an informational interview and you were able to have a great conversation, the person seemed open to talking and answering questions that are more casual and of a personal nature, you can go ahead with it. You just have to tread carefully to determine if that person is ready to open up in a personal capacity to you. Can you make a real human connection there, or are they really only expecting something surface level? You'd have to use your EQ in that, like your emotional intelligence, to determine how the conversation's going. Does that help? Does anyone else have any experiences to share around informational interviews versus a networking conversation?
You want them to unmute themselves and share?
If anyone has a story, yeah, I'd love to hear from the audience too.
Feel free to share. Anyone?
And if not, it's okay too.
Okay, we have comments. Okay. Deborah says, sometimes it's easier and less pressure to look at from the other side. Networking, also a good opportunity to give someone else a lead or guidance. Nelly Olivier says, I know good at networking with people. I'm not good at networking with people, I believe, but I don't know how to continue to follow up.
Sorry, I was typing fast. Sorry. So I'm good at networking, but I don't know how to follow up. Sorry about that. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, Nelly, I'm going to talk about that in I think on the next slide or the one after that. But yeah, very, very important to talk about maintaining the relationship.
Sophie says, on my side, I don't know when to contact people again, follow-ups. Do we have to send New Year wishes to all LinkedIn contacts, for example?
Is the question, do you send New Year wishes to all your LinkedIn contacts?
Yes, like as an example of a follow-up.
Excellent question. Excellent question. Oh my God, I'm so excited you asked me that. If we don't have any more questions, can I get into that on the next slide?
For sure, we have more questions. We have one question more. I almost dread networking, but I know I need to build a network. What situations are appropriate for networking? Are there situations in which we shouldn't?
Very, very good questions. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's pause and park the follow-up questions and the example of the LinkedIn Happy New Year thing, because that's very important. And let's just answer this question quickly before we go on to the next thing. When is it not appropriate to network? Such a good question. So honestly, if you approach networking like making friends and just having a conversation, then there'll be very, very few times that it's not appropriate. I would say if you are at a funeral and the person, direct family members of the person who has passed, maybe don't go to network with them, you know? But if you're sitting next to someone in a funeral, to be honest, and if the service is going on, the service is ended, and you have someone who is a distant relative or a distant friend, you can chat with them, right? Hey, how did you know this person? Oh, yes. Did you go to school with them? Oh, I see. Oh, okay. You know, this is a conversation, and this is networking. It's building a relationship. And it doesn't, maybe that relationship doesn't go on forever because you discover you don't have much in common. And so after that, you don't need to follow up. It's done. But if you start talking to the person next to you and you start, you know, you're learning, oh, so-and-so has something in common with me as well, it doesn't matter that you're at a funeral. Obviously, you have to respect the fact that you are there, pay respect, you know, in appropriate tone, language, volume. Those are social cues that we learn as human beings, right? I would say if you walked into a wedding, you network with the people, the guests of the wedding, but you wouldn't spend time and say, oh, the brother of the groom sounds like I need to network with them. They're busy that day. You know, those are the times you use your emotional intelligence and you read the room. So I would say, do they look like they're available? Are they having casual conversations with other people? Then you can have a casual conversation with them. You're making friends. So change the word networking in your head to having a casual conversation, and then see if it's appropriate or not. If it's in your mind appropriate, probably is.
We have more questions. Do you want me to?
Okay, I'm going to pause and go on and then come back to more questions.
Perfect.
So let's talk about where we start when it comes to networking. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do, right? If someone says, can you go network? My DP stands for during pandemic, okay? So this is my action plan for during pandemic. Just keep in mind. Start with your family. If you have family in Canada and here, start with telling your family about what your career goals are, what your next steps, things that you want to do are, and see if they know someone that they can introduce you to. A lot of us tend to think our parents are so old. Oh my God, they don't know anyone. They don't know like what it's like to be cool and in university or whatever. They may not know all that, but they know a whole ton of people. They've been networking their entire lives, even if they don't know they have, right? They grew up here. Your neighbors are your network. Literally anyone you know is in your network. So think about telling the people in your family the closest to you. Your friends, look at your friends. So if you're an international student, you likely will have not family here in Canada. And so you will look to your friends. If you're an immigrant, a newcomer, look at the people you already know. Ask them, you know, I'm interested in learning about so-and-so. I'm interested in getting into this career. Where do I go? LinkedIn, when you have to go cold, LinkedIn is a really great option, right? Because you know people that you can search by title, you can search people, you can connect anyway. And I would be very remiss if I did not say 10,000 Coffees if you have access to it. So if you are with the School of Continuing Studies, you have access to the 10,000 Coffees platform. People are on this platform literally because they want to network. Literally just to network. If you're not from the School of Continuing Studies at McGill, but you are an alum or a current student at another university or college in Canada, we have over 71 schools in Canada on our platform. Go to 10,000coffees.com/schools and find your school. And anyone who is signed up for that program on the platform wants to network. And so you need to reach out to them. And you know what your common ground with people on 10,000 Coffees are? You went to the same school. That's the perfect start. It's actually a much warmer introduction on 10,000 Coffees than it is on LinkedIn. 10,000 Coffees also matches you up with someone new based on your career goals every single month. And so if you are too shy to reach out to someone, the system does it for you. Then what are you going to do? You're going to outreach. And I have an exercise a little bit later on that if we don't do, I have 2 exercises. We only have time for one. The other one tells you how to do outreach. And even though we won't do that one today, there's still do's and don'ts that I'll walk through that can help you write the perfect outreach message, because today we're doing it online, right? So you have to think about your words and crafting a message, not about when you meet someone in person. Because usually when I do this in person, this session, I talk about shaking hands. Now it'll be forever before you shake hands again, but you're going to send a message to the person that you really want to connect with very soon. Now, my action phase also says, throw out your damn checklist and have a conversation, okay? Beginners, we've already talked about that. Beginners, keep it simple. So don't start talking about politics and, you know, religion and all of those things in the first conversation. Literally talk about, you know, your background and what school you went to and where you grew up and all of that. And now I want to talk about maintaining the relationship. And this is the follow-up piece that I want to talk about to you. So there are a couple of things that I'm going to recommend that you do. One, send articles that you think they might be interested in, videos you think they might be interested in. They don't have to be, so listen, remember that this networking, this human connection is for not just your professional context, but your personal context as well. Send articles, greetings. Okay, somebody asked about a greeting. Should you send a Happy New Year message to everyone you just connected with in the last year on LinkedIn? And my answer is only if it is genuine and you had a genuine conversation. So a couple of weeks ago, at the beginning of January, my roommate came out to me and said, I used to have these, you know, I set up like a 2-hour time slot in my calendar on Fridays to have coffee with people for the last several months. And all these people that I met with are now sending me a Happy New Year message. And she's like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't even remember the conversation. It was not, we didn't make a connection. And so that is you going through a checklist and saying, oh, I met with that person. I think it's a good idea for me to send a message. Let me just send a message. But is the message a generic one? Did you copy and paste it? If you did, don't send it because it's not genuine. It's not a real, if you had remembered something about the conversation or you have something to give them, like here's an article, here's a video, I thought of you when I saw this, blah, blah, blah. That is the kind of connection you want, something that's meaningful because you're talking human to human. Don't just send a thank you or a Happy New Year or a blah, 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 because you want to. But I have posted, this is a copy of an email that I got in 2011 from an old boss of mine. They sent me a greeting. They said, happy birthday, hope all is well. I might be creating a new position. Are you looking at all or do you know anybody that is? Michael, I went to meet Michael, my old boss, after this email came through. And we had a couple of meetings and he said, oh, I have this thing and I have that thing. And in which job are you interested in? And we basically created my position in his new company together. And I'm giving this as an example is because it started because he remembered my birthday. And this was the CEO of the foundation that I was working for some years back. And I was working at an art gallery. I'd moved on and I had a great time and experience with him. And we continued to build a relationship. So if you are sending the greeting because you have a relationship already, you're maintaining that relationship, we've known each other for several years, we'd worked together already, then it makes sense. I have people that I worked with 15 years ago that I still send birthday emails to. In fact, it's my birthday tomorrow. My colleague sent me, my old colleague from years and years ago, sent me an email today. Happy birthday. Her birthday is on the 26th of January and I send her an email every single year. We had a relationship. We are maintaining that relationship. If you've had one coffee or meeting with somebody and you have nothing else to share, and after 6 months, it's like, oh, it's December 31st. Let me send them a Happy New Year. They're not going to remember you, right? The connection was not that deep. If you can send a follow-up a couple of weeks later and say, oh, the next day you should send a follow-up, say, thank you, great talk, let's keep in touch. Okay, then what? If you have an article that reminds you of them, a fun thing that you saw, you send it. Oh my God, remember we were talking about this. Oh, did you know that this conference is going on in Finland and you can join virtually? Here's the information. you want to send things of interest. You want to be of value. What can you give them? That's what you think about, not what you can take from them or what they can give you. But if you are networking, particularly if you are a young person looking to break into an industry or get to a job or networking with people who are in a higher, more senior position, you want to provide as much value as possible. Items of interest is that, and appropriate updates. I gave a talk at my alma mater, which is Trent University, 5 years ago now. And one of the students there was an international student. After the event, they connected with me and said, oh my gosh, Sadaf, your talk really connected with me. I'm an international student also. You know, we made connection. Some weeks later, she asked me for a coffee. You know, we had a call on the phone. Some months later, she said, you know, I'm trying to move to Toronto. You know, just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Some months after that, she just sent me an update about, oh, I got a job here, actually. I'm going to stay here for a couple of months. And every couple of months, even if she didn't have something to give me, she would just say, hey, I just want to say thank you. We're just checking in, just to let you know, hope you are well. This is what I'm doing. 2 sentences. Sometimes I had the time to respond. To be honest, sometimes I didn't. The kind, sweet woman would keep connected. And then a year later, she was saying, oh, I'm interviewing for a job in Toronto. Could we have coffee afterwards? Absolutely, let's have coffee. And so we kept connected. It's been 4 or 5 years now. A couple of weeks ago, she called me and said, you know, I want to do a postgraduate certificate. Can you guide me? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, we chatted. And, you know, she asked me afterwards, will you be my mentor? And in some way, we've already had this informal mentoring, you know, relationship over the years. And I haven't given her a response yet because I don't know if I have the time to take on another mentorship, a mentor right now. But what I'm trying to depict is sending appropriate updates over time to build the relationship. Now, I want to make sure that this answers the question about the follow-up and how do I maintain the relationship. There were 2 related questions around that. And if either of those people would like to chime in, if you know, looking for more or clarification.
I do remember one question that was related. I'm just scrolling if I find it. It was from Raul, and he was asking about how to approach a CEO or a manager when you are changing your career. That's tricky. So maybe if you could give some tips on that.
That's a really hard one. It's not going to be easy. Okay, so this is where I would start. Let's say CEO, okay? Which is really tough to get to. I would start by looking at my network. Who knows this person? So I would go onto LinkedIn and I would go to that individual's profile. And LinkedIn has an interesting thing that tells you who or how many people you know are connected to them, or how far away are your connections to that person. If you know someone like an aunt or an uncle or someone you used to work with that actually is connected to them, reach out to that person first and say, hey, I'm interested in talking to this person because I'm very interested in their company because of X, Y, and Z. Make sure that you're specific and you are very detailed in your, like, not detailed, but very accurate in like what your goals are, right? And ask them, would you consider making an introduction? Do you have a relationship with this person where you can make an introduction? My cat is meowing. He's woken up from sleep. And so ask them to make a warm introduction. If you do not have a connection anywhere, then your job gets tougher. If we were not in a pandemic, I would say you're going to in-person events that you know this person will be at, and then try to make a connection while they're at the coffee maker or whatever, you know, those kinds of things. But you have to have confidence for those things. Like, you gotta have super duper confidence. If you need to reach out cold to a CEO, you'd be surprised. Many of them do check their LinkedIn and some will respond. Now, it's about, oh my God, my cat. It's about making the right message and outreaching. Now, I have some tips about creating the right message. Listen, with a cold message, doesn't matter who it is, CEO, your mom, not your mom, someone's mom, grandma, whatever, they may respond, they may not respond. So you are going to take a risk, right? But I can help you with a couple of tips to craft the best possible message and what things to avoid and things not to avoid. That I have that written down in a second. But first things first, if you can get a warm introduction, that will be your best way. Also, I have found that if you're interested in working at a company, and let's say you're a young person and you're breaking into an industry, you can likely connect with other people online, whether it be 10,000 Coffees or LinkedIn. You may not have to go to the CEO. Think about who you can go to as a manager. You know, they may have more time to connect with you. CEOs, is not that they're too snooty or they're snobbish and they don't want to talk to you. It's not that. It's typically like they don't have time. And so if they have the time, some of them make the effort to make the time, which is amazing because they know that someone gave them a break back in the day and they want to give back. But I also find that, you know, young professionals will be generous of their time. And so if you can get a conversation with someone who works at a company instead of the CEO, maybe they can tell you how to get in. Maybe they know someone they can introduce you to, right? You can make a cold connection, build a relationship for a couple of weeks, couple of months. A couple of weeks would probably be tough, but essentially a couple of months. And then, you know, they can maybe keep you in mind when opening comes up. That might be another way to go.
We do have another question, and I'm going to read this comment because it's connected to what you were saying. And I think it's very important. If someone connects, this is from Chris. If someone connects you to someone else, make sure that you send a thank you to them after you made the connection and tell them about the outcome. It will help them remember you.
100%. Chris, thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, I haven't gone into my presentation at all around the etiquettes around, you know, the following up and the thank yous, because I don't have time to do that. So I'm assuming you know that, but that's a reminder to tell people and say, hey, this is how you should to connect with other people. Thank them for their time. I was a fundraiser for a large part of my career. I hope you can ignore my cat in the background. I was a fundraiser for many years, and we have a rule in fundraising: when you write a letter soliciting people for money, or if you get an email the next time from UNICEF or whatever asking for money, pay attention to how many times they say thank you to you. Usually in the industry practice is 3 times in the email. You started off at the beginning, somewhere in the middle, somewhere at the end. And during the course of a donor's life, you like a cycle, typically about 7 times you want to say thank you to them. So thank you will go a really, really long way, and absolutely makes them feel connected. They understand what's happening, right? Makes a difference.
Thank you, Sadaf. I read in the chat that people are asking about the relationship between a mentor and a potential connection. How you transition between a connection to a mentor? Do you ask that person directly? Is it correct asking someone, do you want to be my mentor? Or that's understood? Yeah.
A very good question, which, if you don't mind, I'm going to come back to at the end, because I want to focus on networking, and we'll talk about mentoring, because, you know, January is mentoring month. So it's a great time to talk about mentoring as well. Maybe it's the best time to ask someone to be your mentor as well. But I'll talk about the etiquettes around that in a sec. I hope to get to that. I have so much to talk about. Okay. This is the practical action phase continued of my Mastering the Art of Networking. Okay, so the one thing that you're really, really going to benefit from is learning how to tell your story. So if you meet someone and you don't learn anything interesting about them, they don't have a story to tell. They didn't say, oh, I did this and I went to that part of the world and then I did this and I experienced this and I have, like, for example, I told my story of who I was and where I was from when I started my talk. That was to help you understand who I am, so that you can remember personal details about me. And hopefully that is helping to make this human connection between me and you. If I had said none of that, and then I went into this like whole long thing of like, this is how you do networking, do this, do that, do this. You'd be like, who is this lady? What does she know about networking, right? What is the value? So stories, people remember stories. People love hearing stories. That's why we watch movies, we read books, all of that. Think about telling your story so that there's something unique to take away. And practice your story. Practice it with a friend. Talk to a friend. Pretend like you're talking to someone that you don't know. If you do leave the house, which you probably shouldn't be right now, but if you do leave the house for grocery shopping and the person in front of you is 6 feet away, and you can say to them, oh, having a birthday party, are we? Because they bought balloons and Coke and chips and a cake. And, you know, you can start a conversation, test it out in a low risk situation, like the grocery store line. Oh, I love your outfit. Where did you get that mask from? It looks so good. Test it out. Practice, 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 practice. So that when you get into a real phone call with somebody you really want to talk to, or you're in an elevator with the CEO of the company you want to work at, you've had the experience of having a casual conversation and you don't sound like a bumbling person. So yes, this meme came late. It was about telling your story. Anyway, okay, so these are some practical questions. I did this a long time ago. I actually redid this today for our session, focusing on virtual conversations. Some of these will help you because some of them are very basic. Some of them you'll say, oh my God, no, I'm not having this. I didn't have that kind of a casual conversation. But if you can, then think about it, okay? So when you're starting a conversation, what are the kinds of questions you can ask? I know this is basic, and I know you're gonna come and say to me, girl, you're basic. Don't give me something interesting, but it works. Like, what do you do? I know people have problems with this question, but it works for me, and it's a really great starter in my opinion. Now, if you want to change up the questions, because you know everyone hears the what do you do, where are you from, da da da. Something that might be interesting. What have you read or watched lately that piqued your interest? Did you watch Tiger King? Are you watching Bridgerton? Oh my God, yes, it was so racy. It was this, it was that. And then you start having a conversation about all the beautiful men in Bridgerton. So it's kind of like a different thing. You'll remember that person because you talked about a show, not about, you know, just career, right? So sometimes just curiosity about their life and their interests are going to take you a long way. Now, when you want to get into the industry, I know again that this is boring, but it is an important question and it does get you the answers that you need. How did you get into the industry? What advice would you give to someone who wants to get into the industry? And what I'm going to tell you right here is that people love talking. Look at me. I love talking. People love hearing their own voice. So ask questions, ask away. The more you want to ask about their life and what they did, and you want to like mimic them, they're going to be like, oh my God, yeah, let me tell you about my life. Let me tell you this. Now, listen, they're not always going to be so exaggerated and over the top like I am. Yes, I know I'm very theatrical, but they will likely at least give you an honest answer, right? To how they got into the industry or how maybe you could. And when you're closing the conversation, this is the part now, maybe it's pertaining to your question, Nelly, or whoever else asked about following up. How do I end the conversation and know that I'm doing the right thing? Now, look, if you want to talk to this person soon, one way of doing it is saying, oh, I'd love to keep chatting. Let's book another chat in a few weeks. I would use this line if I was talking to someone who is a peer or someone who I know very well, or even if I don't know very well, but someone who is in the same space in life in their career as me. So I would not use this term or this sentence for a CEO, someone who was very senior to me. Now, another way of phrasing something like that, where you could talk to someone who's more senior and say, this has been so interesting. Or if it's more casual, this has been so fun. Could we continue to keep in touch? So you can say, maybe on LinkedIn, maybe on this. If you haven't met on LinkedIn, can I add you on LinkedIn? Can I message you, in a few months to keep in touch? Chances are they'll say yes. But it's a nice casual way of saying, let's keep connected. That way they have the expectation to do so as well. Send a follow-up email the next day saying, thank you, so great to chat. We'll keep in touch. In about 3-4 months, try and find an article you can send them, a video you can send them, or connect for a reason If you likely can't, you're racking your brain, you can't find a reason, you don't have a good enough reason to talk to them. May not be worth it. Maybe you just connect once a year. Sometimes that's sufficient as well. I have relationships like that where I will connect once in a while or only when we need to help one another for something. And it still works. We have mutual respect. Okay, so my networking activity is, this is one that we're not going to do. But I do want to talk about outreach messages very quickly here. I have some do's and don'ts around when you're sending a message to someone. Somebody asked a question about that. Some of the things to keep in mind: one, research the person, know who you're talking to, which company they are at, what else can you find out about themselves? Do they have a side business? Sometimes their Instagram will tell you a lot of information about themselves. It's just good to have information as you're going in. Say, oh, I saw that you were working at so-and-so company. I have a friend who was working there. They say that they love the culture. What do you think about the culture? Or, it could be questions like that when you're reaching out. Keep it brief. If you send a message that's more than a few sentences, chances are they won't read it or they won't respond to it. But explain why you're connecting. Just say, I'm so interested in when I came across your profile, and I want to learn about your position at so-and-so company. Your area of expertise is something I'm looking to really learn about. Would you have a casual coffee with me to tell me more about your work, industry, interest, whatever it may be? And be specific about time. Just say, could I have 20 minutes of your time or 30 minutes of your time? I have these few dates. Would they work for you? So try to keep very specific and short. What you don't want to do is ask for a job. I've had people add me on LinkedIn and send me a message immediately asking me for a job. And it's like, I don't have a job to give you. Also, I don't know you, but I don't know how I'm supposed to give you a job, right? Don't ask a leading question. I had somebody join me, someone add me on LinkedIn recently and asked me a question. Hey, Sadaf, do you use LinkedIn often? And I was like, I mean, sometimes I don't know what where is it going? Where are you setting me up so that you can ask what you want? Just ask me what you want. If you're interested in having a conversation about networking, because I work at a company that promotes networking and mentorship, talk to me about that. If you're interested in my company, tell me about that. Don't waste time to ask me, to try and corner me into something. So if you're expecting a yes, I use LinkedIn a lot, what is the next question? What do you want? So these kinds of situations are confusing, and most people will not have time for that. Also, I teach at a college here in Ontario, and I get a lot of LinkedIn messages, LinkedIn connection requests. And I always say to my students, if you send a request without a message, I am not accepting it. You really, really want to get into the habit, particularly if you don't know the person, or if you are a student and they don't see you in the same industry, and it's not a connection they can immediately see mutual benefit from. You really, really need to send a message to say why you're wanting to connect. And that message that LinkedIn says that we should connect is not good enough. LinkedIn says you should connect, so what? LinkedIn says you should move to the other side of the world, so you're going to do it? No. Just because LinkedIn said to do something, you're not going to do it. That's not a good enough reason. So please make sure that you're adding, I want to learn, I'm interested in your industry, I'm interested in you, or I connected because I go to this school and you're a teacher at this school. That is sufficient, tell me why. Our networking activity is actually going to be, and I don't know if we can manage this, but Deanna, I want to give everyone about 5 minutes to go into a networking conversation with someone new in the room. Okay. So if we can connect 2 people to a room, and I know that this might be a bit uncomfortable and I'm putting you on the spot, everybody, but I really, really, really hope that you can just have a casual conversation. Remember those key tips about connecting. Do your power pose if you're feeling uncomfortable right now. But if we can put everyone into a room where you're talking to one person, Just have a 5-minute conversation, get to know them. Nothing too complicated. You don't need to, don't ask for a job. Just get to know them. Ask them basic questions.
Okay, organizing the breakout rooms. We actually have a petition from the audience. They were asking if you could introduce your cat.
Okay, so I have two, and Picasso was the loud one, and he just walked out of the room. While you are getting into rooms, I can go and find one. Wait. Pico. Come, Pico. Come. He might be coming. This is Picasso.
Hello. Someone else has her cat, I believe, with her. So she was commenting how funny is the situation working with your cat in your office.
Is your other cat named after an artist as well?
No, her name is Mimi.
Oh, okay.
I didn't change my cat's names from when I got them. I didn't feel like it was fair.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want anyone to change my name, so I didn't change their names.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your cat's name?
I don't have cats anymore. I had two, and I just put the last one. I had to put her down last year. Yeah, they both got quite sick, and they're like, one was 13 and one was like 14, you know, by the time. So I thought I'd wait a little while. Last year, I thought I'd wait because I wanted a chance to take a vacation without having to deal with kenneling and babysitters and the whole thing, right? And then of course this year that didn't happen, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
So while Deanna is setting up the room, if you had a question and we didn't get to it, do you want to ask it?
I believe some people who are here in the main room didn't join.
This is the other one.
Hello.
Mimi.
Hi, John.
Oh, Joanne, I think you're muted.
Didn't you
Yeah,
get
I wasn't sure if I should join the room if we were waiting for more instructions. We can just go ahead and join.
Yes, it's time for network. Okay. Yes, I believe.
Yeah, please chat away.
Just making sure no one is alone.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Sadaf. It's the same.
Sadaf.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was assigned to a chat room, but nobody was there, so I came back.
That's what happened to me too.
Maybe Sadaf and Deborah can go into a room then.
Okay, I'm checking.
Me too. I was assigned to a room and there was no one.
Okay, do you remember your room? The number of your room? Like
Probably a lot of rooms to set up. There's, if you're doing two people.
We have some people who didn't join, so I need to check every room.
We have cats and kids.
Great. Yeah. And I have 3 boys, so you can imagine it's a chaos in the home every day.
I'm going to move you.
And go ask Nani.
And me. Because we have 30 rooms.
Oh,
that's why.
We only have 20 people, right?
In the main room, people who.
Oh, so people have joined other rooms. Okay.
Yes. Some people didn't join, so now I need to reassign.
Oh, sorry, because we came back.
Yes, maybe Debra. I'm going to reassign you.
Yeah.
Do you remember your room?
5.
5, perfect. Okay. I'm going to reassign you to room 7 and
Lucky 7. Okay.
7. Yeah.
I can also go somewhere, but I was in a room and there was no one else there.
Yeah, same thing here with me, Josie. I waited in there probably about, I don't know, almost 3 minutes.
Yes.
C'était le meilleur logo des Jeux Olympiques à vie. C'était le parce que c'était blanc et blanc. Puis vu que tu sais, le tracé du Japon, c'est juste un cercle rouge.
If the technology isn't working, we can also have a conversation here. Some of us are unmuted. Some of us are.
It's because people didn't join the room and went back. And as we have 30 rooms, I need to go in each room and search for the people who didn't join to reassign them.
Okay, we only have about 9 minutes left for our talk anyway. So if you want to kill the rooms, we'll come back to the main room and have a bit of a discussion as a group.
Perfect.
And for those of you who are here and have had a conversation, I wonder if you, and I don't know if anyone has, because I don't know if the meetings have been killed yet or not, but I'd love to hear your experience on, you were just meeting someone new, there was no pressure in the environment, like there was no, hey, you're in an interview or you're talking to someone that you, that might have a huge impact on your life in some way. How was the conversation for you? What did you learn about this person? How did it feel?
Okay, everybody should be back in 9 seconds.
Okay. Hello, welcome back, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So for those of you who were in a room and had a conversation with someone, who will be brave enough to unmute themselves and tell me how the conversation went? How was the experience for you? How did you feel? Was there pressure? Was there not? What did you learn?
Yeah. Yes, me. So
hello. How do I say your name?
My name is Natraj, N-A-T-R-A-J-A-N, Natrajan.
Natrajan, okay.
Yeah. Yes, I had a conversation with Sophie, who tested that she got a job recently in Desjardins. So she was excited about the new job, and she was telling about her visit to Montreal. Like she is new to Montreal. It's been 1 year, and since she came around 1 year before, she is from France. It's originated from Francophone things, and she came and was looking for a job. Since it's a COVID time, it is pretty bit hard, and she said that through the second degree connections, not immediate connections, so second degree connections, she got job referrals from Desjardins.
Right.
And she joined it. So that's about her actually.
How did it feel though to you?
Yeah, it's not a new, first of all, to hear from the people of different origin, but the one other thing is the most of the connections what we have is through LinkedIn. So she's also using more LinkedIn, and I'm also using more LinkedIn, and this is where we are connecting the bridge. And the French wise, I'm a little bit hard, but she's good in French. That's how. Yeah.
Nice. Anyone else want to share their experience on how they felt? Was it awkward? Was it uncomfortable? Was it like not?
So I can go. We had some issues with the breakout room, so we only had like probably a little bit more than 60 seconds. So it was Sandra, San Diego, and myself, and we had the chance to hear San Diego's story about he's right now in Spain, but he was in Montreal, and it's the first time because I am a student in master's, and we are having Zoom classes and we have breakout rooms. So it's a little bit stressful in those breakout rooms, but this time it was interesting because I was about to hear a story of someone, like personally a story, and not something about the course or anything. So it was exciting for me.
Interesting.
And it's comfortable because we're all here for the same reason. So it wasn't, okay, where's the checklist? We're all wanting to know how to do this.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. I'm glad that you were able to kind of see the difference between having a personal conversation with someone versus, you know, oh, I have some line of business here, you know, to get like either about the course or work or whatever. So we are short on time, so I want to move forward. And if you're looking for a book or a resource on learning about networking, Never Eat Alone is probably one of the best books that I've read around networking, let alone probably just one of the best books I've ever read. I highly, highly, highly recommend. If you want to learn how to manage your network, he makes it a very simple and easy to understand, if you have a really big network, how you should manage it. Now, listen, I'm going to end off, but I'm going to say your network will be your next job. It was for me. Best friend, absolutely. Life partner, I don't have a life partner yet, but I'm not giving up hope. Business opportunity, yes. And passion project that can add so much to your life. And so these are my parting kind of, you know, my parting words to you. And I'm going to ask you a question as I go, which is, what is the first thing that you're going to do after this session when it comes to networking? What have you been able to take away and that you can actually do?
You want us to write it in the chat?
Sure, or unmute yourself, whatever.
I will just read that book first, because I've been trying to get myself more into reading, and I really don't know where to start from. So this is one of the good things that I will read this book. And I really like your points when you said that you go to a person, and like right now we cannot go, but post-pandemic, when we go to the person and just start casually rather than going directly into serious stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna try that, asking people, like you said, we connect with the stories, so, and we remember stories. So that's my takeaway point from your session, that I'm gonna try that.
Amazing. Anybody else want to share what they're going to do after this?
I can share. Sadaf, yeah. I will write to you a message and send you an invitation, and I would love to talk about bachata with you.
Oh yes, bachata! Ooh, I loved bachata. Bachata is the dance from the Dominican. For those who don't know, it's my favorite Latin dance. Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes.
Okay, we got that in common, and I think in that particular time, we know that we can't do that, and maybe it will be the last thing we will be able to do. So I think it would be good to talk about, remember that time, and that is missing. And also, and thank you again and thank you 1 or maybe 3 times. Thank you for this amazing webinar you made.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Thank you. The only other thing that I had is, you know, well, yeah, I want you to think about what you're going to do when you improve your networking, which is very similar to the question I just asked you. But if you have any more questions, we have a minute left. But, you know, if you're looking to reach me, you can get me on LinkedIn or at sadaf@10,000coffees.com. And I'm now happy to take any questions from you that I didn't answer. The mentorship one, okay, very quickly, because we don't have a ton of time. Listen, it is very hard to find a mentor. I still don't have one. And I will say to you that it's probably one of those things that you don't go and say to someone, hey, will you just be a mentor just because you met them for the first time. A mentorship relationship is 2 ways. So you need to be able to learn, obviously, but the other person, the person who is mentoring you, also needs to be able to get something out of it. It has to be a relationship, it has to be connection. And so oftentimes when you meet someone for the first time, you don't have a relationship. So it's a bad idea to ask them to be your mentor after 1 meeting. You really have to build a relationship to do that. And sometimes they're informal relationships that are mentorship relationships. And you don't calling them a mentor, they're not calling you a mentee, but you meet every couple of months or you chat every couple of months and you ask about things that are happening at work, things that you want to do with your career, things that you ask for advice. You essentially have a mentoring relationship, someone you look up to, someone you admire, someone who has skills that you are interested in learning, but you haven't asked them to be your mentor. And that's okay too. You're going to have different kinds of mentors in your life and in your career. In a very condensed way, although I'm not one to be brief, I talk so much. That was my condensed answer about mentorship.
Thank you so much, Sadaf. Thank you for your refreshing and positive energy, for your smile, for introducing us as well your cute cats. And I want to answer your question. What I'm going to do after this session is I'm going to follow up with some people who have helped me recently in November, in December, that I haven't had the time to get back to them and say, thank you for a connection or for an opportunity that they have presented to me. Thank you so much for the kind reminder. And thank you all of you for being here, for staying tuned with PowerSkills 2021. Let's please keep connected. Tomorrow we have more sessions. It's our last day, our third day of Summit. So you are welcome to attend. Looking forward to start the day with you again tomorrow. So
sorry, before we disconnect, can all of you show your camera so I can get like a selfie?
One tip, Sadaf, stop sharing so we can do like a speaker view, gallery view, so you have everybody.
Yes.
Hey.
Oh my God, this is so cute. Oh my God, I'm taking video. I'm taking a picture. Smile. Oh my God.
Cheers.
I love it.
You have second page. Smile.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day.
Have a good evening and weekend.
Bye. Have a good
Thanks very
weekend,
much.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.